JBN, we keep you informed. Cops search for men who carried out $800,000 robbery in Trelawney. The Trelawney police say they are still searching for 4 men who held up and robbed approximately $800,000 from a supermarket in the parish on Tuesday. The robbery was the first one recorded in the parish since the start of the year. Reports are that about 8:10 p.m., 4 men went to the JBNN supermarket in Duncan's posing as customers. 3 of the men pulled out handguns and 1 brandished a knife and proceeded to rob the owner of the business establishment of cash amounting to $800,000, plus an undetermined amount of cigarettes and phone cards. The armed robbers also made off in a white Nissan AD wagon with cellular phones which were taken from customers and the staff members of the supermarket. No one was injured during the robbery. Senton man charged for possession of illegal gun and ammunition. A 23-year-old man is to answer charges of illegal possession of a gun and ammunition following his arrest on Friday by the St. Anne's Bay Police. The Corporate Communications Unit of the Jamaica Constabulary Force reports that charges stem from an early morning search of the accused, Mickey Dillon's house in Steertown, St. Anne in December last year. A .38 Taurus revolver containing 3.38 rounds of ammunition were found. The police say the date for Dillon's court appearance will be announced at a later date. Need for examination of safety procedures in relation to flammable substances. Member of Parliament for Central Manchester, Peter Bunting, has said, while investigations continue into Friday afternoon's explosion at Haven's Fesco service station in the parish capital Mandeville, there will be a need to examine safety procedures in relation to the handling of flammable substances. Approximately 7 people were injured during the incident on Friday afternoon, 3 of whom remain hospitalized with third-degree burns. 1 man, identified by his alias Danny, succumbed to his injuries yesterday, while 3 are nursing minor injuries. About a dozen vehicles were also damaged. Bunting expressed gratitude to first responders whose actions, he said, may have prevented further damage and injuries. He said he is also still personally grappling with the incident. It's a bit surreal for me. I think I'm going to go down to the station shortly and just try and come to terms with what happened. It could have been so much worse. There were scores of us there participating in the RGR Gleaner cross country, either doing interviews right there on the compound, and overnight it has just brought back to me the recent explosion we had at the Villa Road Primary School, he said. A 36-year-old man died from injuries he received during the Villa Road Primary explosion 2 weeks ago. 4 others were also injured. Bunting said it is his hope that lessons have been learned from the Fesco incident so that future tragedies can be avoided. It was a tragedy, and my sympathy goes out to the victims, to the Havens and their staff. I know everybody must have been traumatized by this, Bunting said in a video yesterday morning. Woman who won $54 million murdered, Latouche wants hanging to resume. Sick and tired of the number of killings taking place in the country, Percival Latouche, president of the Association for the Resettlement of Returning Residents, said it is time the government starts hanging murderers. More than 170 persons have been murdered in Jamaica since the start of the year. That number does not include the case of Evadne Gale, a 67-year-old returning resident who was murdered in St. Tulis, Manchester last November. Gale's case last week grabbed international attention, with both the UK Mirror and the UK Daily Star reporting that she won £300,000, approximately $54 million, at a casino before returning to Jamaica. Gale lived in Reservoir Road, Eggbaston, England, and was a popular figure. She owned a fashion store and later went on to operate a Jamaican greengrocer store. After years of working in England and building her dream home in Jamaica, she only got to spend 3 weeks there before she was found by her common-law husband hacked to death in their home. It is as clear as day that Jamaicans who have lived overseas and desire to return to their homeland are scared to return because of these brutal killings, Latouche said. I call upon the government to bring back hanging to the forefront. It's on our books as a law of Jamaica. Too many murderers are walking the streets. The murderers know there will be no real serious consequences as they can plea bargain, he added. Jamaica has not carried out the death penalty since 1988. Members of Parliament in 2008 voted to retain the death penalty, but the hangman has remained idle. Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang in an interview conceded that homicides are a sore high for Jamaica. Murders are a number one problem in terms of criminal felony. It affects the image of Jamaica wherever you go. It is a concern to anybody who has an interest in Jamaica. It is the biggest problem we have, and much of our efforts are focused on strengthening the whole security force, he said. Clarendon School forms committee to help solve school supply shortage. The Freetown Primary School in Clarendon was built to accommodate 200 students. However, the institution now has 400 pupils on roll. This challenge is further compounded by the fact that the designated play area is asphalted, which is hazardous to both students and the teachers as they sometimes fall and hurt themselves. The playing field, located at the back of the school, would have been ideal, except that it has no perimeter fencing and is close to the road, making it off-limits for students unless they are properly supervised. There are other pressing problems at the school, such as the need for additional classrooms, a library, and a reading room. Cognizant of these needs and the fact that the Ministry of Education can only do so much, a special projects committee was formed at the school to see how best the institution could supplement what it was getting from the ministry. The committee comprises Principal Denise Moody, Vice Principal Jacqueline Hunter, some teachers, and a member of the office staff. Moody said that there are several things at the school that need to be done, and that the limited financing received from the ministry can barely take them to the end of the term. We realized that we needed to find ways and means to help ourselves, so we formed a special project committee to get some things done, she said. The school has already completed a project that saw whiteboards being bought and installed in all the classrooms. With blackboards once serving as partitions for classrooms, the school is thankful that the Digicel Foundation came on board and gave them proper partitions. The team also has high praises for Old Faithful, Amala Auto Solution, whose owner, it said, is always helpful. Another benefactor, Dr. Bradley Edwards, senior medical doctor at the Mapen Hospital, is always looking for ways to assist the institution, Moody said. However, the school still has two pressing needs. One is to reclaim the library that had to be converted into a classroom to accommodate the growing number of students, and the other is for a resource center. Moody said that a parent has donated a container that can be retrofitted and used as a resource center. However, we don't have the funds to have it delivered, and we also need to have a base built for it, she shared. Looking ahead, Moody said that it is her hope that there will be partnerships so that the school can realize its goals and the children can learn in a more comfortable environment. Deportees in danger of losing their minds, says returnee. As questions continue to swirl about last Tuesday's removal of Jamaicans from the United Kingdom, UK, a proclaimed self-deportee has warned that returning expats who find themselves in a strange country may be jolted by a culture shock. Salvin Farrell, who had been on probation for a crime he insists he did not commit in the United States, where, according to him, he was falsely accused and arrested, said he was concerned that deportees may end up losing their minds. I'm particularly worried about the ones who were charged, served time, and now deported for crimes they did not commit. They could be in danger in terms of their mental state, Farrell said. I must also say that even though things and life itself are very hard and difficult in Jamaica, one can survive if wise and without getting into illegal activities, he said last Tuesday. 17 so-called hardened criminals who served time in prison for a slew of crimes ranging from murder to rape were sent back to Jamaica, some with only their shirts on their back. And while a few had relatives and some friends waiting on them outside the Harmon Barracks Processing Center in Kingston, many spent their first night back at drop-in centers, but would be seeking more permanent housing arrangements with little assistance from the government. Farrell said he can attest to the fact that even a deportee can have a good life in Jamaica if willing to adjust thinking and try to remain on the right side of the law. My personal advice to all these deportees, guilty or not, are to stay clean. If you did wrong in the past, abandon your old criminal ways and seek the Lord. Don't go looking for a job, as not many Jamaican business owners will want to employ you. Thus seek to get into a business of your own, selling whatever you can, especially to retail locations instead of on the street corner. I am doing it and so can you, stated Farrell. He further advised the involuntary returning immigrants to prepare to be disappointed, as persons on whom they could once lean on for assistance may suddenly turn their backs on them. Meanwhile, it is believed that the Home Office is planning a second charter flight to Jamaica that is likely to include prospective deportees who were taking off Tuesday's flight after an 11th hour appeal court reprieve, when a court ruled that they be removed, as they had not had 5 working days of access to their lawyers because of a problem with the phone signal at 2 detention centers close to the Heathrow airport. A report in the UK also mentioned several detainees at Brook House near Gatwick Airport who were spared being deported with the last batch following legal action. The fear is that they could now be in line for deportation. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.